Imagine a world where the privacy of your own mind is no longer guaranteed. In this world, telepathy isn't a rare superpower or a sci-fi miracle. It's just another part of the social fabric, as common as reading a newspaper or checking the weather. It's a tool for connection, sure, but it's also a tool for crime. This is the setting for George O. Smith's classic novel, The Big Fix. A story that takes the high-stakes world of gambling and turns it into a psychological battlefield where the weapons aren't just money or influence, but the very thoughts inside your head. Our protagonist is Wally Wilson. Wally isn't a hero in the traditional sense, he's a professional bookmaker. He makes his living navigating the murky waters of betting, and in a world with telepaths, that means he has to be incredibly sharp. He has to know when someone is reading a card, or more importantly, when someone is reading a person. The story kicks off when Wally is approached by Tomboy Taylor, an agent for a man named Joseph Barcelona. Barcelona is a man of immense wealth and even greater mental power. The command Tomboy delivers is impossible. Wally must fix the upcoming Kentucky Derby. This isn't just about making sure a certain horse wins. Barcelona is very specific. 3 long-shot horses, Flying Heels, Moonbeam, and Lady Grace, must finish the race in that exact order. Wally looks at those horses and sees nothing but losers. They are objectively inferior, and trying to force them into a specific sequence is a recipe for disaster. But you don't say no to Joseph Barcelona, not just because of his money, but because of his noise. In this world, Barcelona uses a technique called a noise barrage. He employs a collection of noisemakers, people or devices that create a constant stream of mental static. This static acts like a psychic shield, making it impossible for anyone to read his thoughts or even get a clear sense of his intentions. He is a man who can move through the world completely invisible to the mental scrutiny of others, which makes him one of the most dangerous players in the game. As Wally tries to figure out how to navigate this impossible demand, he finds himself being watched from 2 different sides. On one hand, there's Lieutenant Delancey of the Chicago Police. Delancey isn't looking for physical evidence like fingerprints or stolen cash, he's monitoring mental ripples. He's looking for the psychic disturbances that come with illegal betting and mental manipulation. On the other hand, Wally realizes that the people in his own life might not be who they seem. Nora Taylor, a woman who has been moving in his social circles, turns out to be a mental spy sent by Barcelona. Her job is to monitor Wally's mental state, ensuring he doesn't have any sudden change of heart or any secret plans to betray the man who holds his leash. The tension builds as the Kentucky Derby approaches. Wally realizes that he is caught in a pincer movement between the law, the powerful, and the sheer weight of Barcelona's influence. He's being squeezed by the need to fulfill an impossible fix while trying to stay under the radar of the police and the mental eyes of Barcelona's agents. Wally is a bookmaker, and a bookmaker's greatest skill isn't just understanding probability, it's understanding people. He realizes that if he tries to fight Barcelona with psychic power, he'll lose. He isn't a master of the psyarts like Barcelona is. To win, he has to fight on a different plane, the plane of human psychology and market perception. This is where the story takes its most brilliant turn. Wally finds himself using an unlikely tool, Gimpy Gordon. Gimpy is a thief, but he's not a sophisticated criminal. He's mentally disorganized, a man whose thoughts are scattered and difficult to read. In a world of telepaths, Gimpy is a bit of a misfit, a person who exists on the fringes of the psychic social order. However, Gimpy has something valuable. He has inside dope on the fix. He knows which horses are supposed to win. Instead of trying to stop the fix, Wally decides to manipulate the way the fix is perceived. He gives Gimpy Gordon $1,000 and tells him to bet heavily on Barcelona's preferred horses. Now, in any other context, this might seem like Wally is helping Barcelona. But Wally is playing a much deeper game. By injecting a sudden massive amount of money into the betting markets on those specific horses, he causes the odds to plummet. To the public, and to the professional gamblers watching the numbers, this sudden shift in the market looks like the ultimate piece of inside information. It looks like everyone suddenly knows that Barcelona's horses are a sure thing. This is the trap. Wally has turned Barcelona's own power against him. By making the fix so obvious through the betting odds, he has created a massive, unintended consequence. The public begins to believe the race is already rigged in Barcelona's favor. This puts Barcelona in a terrifying position. In the world of gambling, there is nothing more dangerous than a crowd that believes they are being cheated by a billionaire. If Barcelona's horses lose the race, and remember, the horses Wally is betting on are the ones that are supposed to lose to satisfy the fix. The public will realize the race was indeed rigged, and a crowd that feels it has been cheated by a man of Barcelona's stature is a crowd that turns to violent, uncontrollable fury. Wally has effectively created a situation where Barcelona's success is his own greatest liability. As the tension reaches a breaking point at the track, Wally approaches Barcelona with a way out. He doesn't offer a way to win the race, he offers a legal fix. He proposes that Barcelona scratch his horses from the race entirely. He suggests that Barcelona should then publicly claim he is refunding the bettors out of his own pocket to cover what he calls a perceived error in the betting market. It's a masterstroke of psychological maneuvering. If Barcelona follows this plan, he avoids the risk of his horses losing and the subsequent riot. He can step down from the brink of a public scandal by appearing to act honourably, even if the honour is just a way to save his own skin. He gets to walk away without the humiliation of a loss or the violence of a crowd. Barcelona, a man who prides himself on his mental dominance, realizes he has been outmaneuvered. He hasn't been beaten by a stronger mind, but by a man who understood the predictable, greedy, and volatile nature of human expectation. He agrees to the plan, and the crisis is resolved not through a clash of psychic powers, but through a calculated management of social perception. The story ends with Wally and Nora watching the race, the chaos having been averted by a twist of psychological warfare. The fix wasn't about the horses at all, it was about managing the fallout of human behavior. When we look back at the big fix, it's interesting to see how Smith uses the concept of telepathy to explore very old, very human themes. The book suggests that even in a world where we can read each other's thoughts, crime doesn't disappear, it just evolves. We often think of technology or new abilities as things that might solve our social problems, but Smith argues that they just change the tools we use to commit them. Instead of stealing a physical card or a physical ledger, you steal an intent or a secret. The mechanics of crime change, but the impulse remains the same. There's also a profound metaphor in Barcelona's noise. His mental static is a perfect representation of how wealth and power function in our own world, just as Barcelona uses a barrage of mental noise to hide his true intentions and shield himself from scrutiny. The powerful in our society often use layers of complexity, legal jargon, and social noise to mask their real motives. They create a fog that makes it impossible for the average person to see what is actually happening behind the scenes. The noise isn't just a psychic phenomenon, it's a social one. The resolution of the book also highlights the tension between the private and the public. In this world, there is a constant struggle between what is thought, the private, psychic realm, and what is acted upon, the public, social realm of betting markets and crowd behavior. Wally wins because he realizes that while you might be able to control what people think in private, you can't control the way they act in public once they perceive a threat to their interests. He exploits the gap between the two. He takes a private conspiracy and turns it into a public problem that is too big for Barcelona to handle. Ultimately, the book is a study of the psychology of the crowd. It suggests that human nature, specifically our greed and our fear of being cheated, is a constant that even telepathy cannot change. You can read a man's mind, but you can't change his fundamental nature. The big fix in the title refers to the race, but it also refers to the way the world is manipulated through the predictable patterns of human behavior. Wally Wilson doesn't win by being the most powerful mind in the room. He wins by being the one who understands that, in the end, we are all driven by the same predictable, messy, and often irrational impulses. Even in a world of mental powers, the most powerful force is still the way we react to one another in the light of day.